Bible and tea time. Bible and tea time. Ooh-wee. The Bible and the tea. Daily Bible. Tomorrow, Good Friday. So today is the 6th. This is the last day of my page. I gotta start a new page tomorrow. Matthew 27, chapter 27, verse 1 through 31. That's crazy. We read the crucifixion tomorrow on Good Friday. Wow. See how this Bible line right up with the real word? Judas hangs himself. While very early in the morning, the leading priests and other leaders met again to discuss how to persuade the Roman government to sentence Jesus to death. Then they bound him and took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, realized that Jesus had been condemned to die, he was filled with remorse. So he took the 30 pieces of silver back to the leading priests and other leaders. "I have sinned," he declared, "for I have betrayed an innocent man." "What do we care?" they retorted. "That's your problem." Then Jesus threw the money on the floor of the temple and went out and hanged himself. The leading priests picked up the money. "We can't put it in this temple treasury," they said, "since it is against the law to accept money paid for murder." After some discussion, they finally decided to buy the potter's field, and they made it into a cemetery for foreigners. That is why the field is still called the Field of Blood. This fulfills the prophecy of Jeremiah that says, "They took 30 pieces of silver, the price which he was valued by the people of Israel, and purchased the potter's field, as the Lord directed." Jesus is tried before Pilate. Now Jesus was standing before Pilate, the Roman governor. "Are you the king of the Jews?" the governor asked him. Jesus replied, "Yes, it is as you say." But when the leading priests and other leaders made their accusations against him, Jesus remained silent. "Don't you hear there are many charges against you?" Pilate demanded, but Jesus said nothing. Much to the governor's great surprise. Now it was the governor's custom to release one prisoner to the crowd each year during the Passover celebration, anyone they wanted. This year, there was a notorious criminal in prison, a man named Barabbas. As the crowd gathered before Pilate's house that morning, he asked them, which one do you want me to release to you? Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" He knew very well that the Jewish leaders had arrested Jesus out of envy. Just then, as Pilate was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent him this message: "Leave that innocent man alone, because I had a terrible nightmare about him last night." Meanwhile, the leading priests and the other leaders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas to be released and for Jesus to be put to death. So when the governor asked again, "Which of these two do you want me to release to you?" the crowd shouted back their reply, "Barabbas." "But if I release Barabbas," Pilate asked them, "what should I do with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" And they all shouted, "Crucify him." "Why?" Pilate demanded. "What crime has he committed?" But the crowd only roared louder and "Crucify him." Pilate saw he wasn't getting anywhere with and that a riot was developing. So he sent for a bowl of water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this man. The responsibility is yours." And all the people yelled back, "We will take responsibility for his death, we and our children." So Pilate released Barabbas to them and ordered Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip. Then he turned them over to the Roman soldiers to crucify him. The soldiers mocked Jesus. Some of the governor's soldiers took Jesus into their headquarters and called out the entire battalion. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. They made a crown of long, sharp thorns and put it on his head, and they placed a stick in his right hand and a scepter as a scepter. Then they knelt before him in mockery, yelling, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they spat on him, and grabbed a stick, and they beat him with it on the head. When they were finally tired of mocking him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be crucified. That was Matthew 27, 1 through 31. Deuteronomy 5 and 6. The Ten Commandments. Moses called all the people of Israel together and said, "Listen carefully to the laws and regulations I am giving you today. Learn them and be sure to obey them." While they were at Mount Sinai, the Lord our God made a covenant with us. The Lord did not make this covenant long ago with our ancestors, but with all of us who are alive today. The Lord spoke to you face to face from the heart of the fire on the mountain. I stood as an intermediary between you and the Lord, for you were afraid of the fire and did not climb the mountain. He spoke to me, and I passed his word on to you. And this is what he said. "I am the Lord your God, who rescued you from slavery in Egypt. Do not worship any other gods besides me. Do not make any idols of any kind, whether in the shape of birds, animals, or fish. You must never worship or bow down to them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, who will not share your affections with any other God. I will not leave unpunished the sins of those who hate me. But I will punish the children for the sins of their parents to the third and fourth generations. But I lavish my love on those who love me and obey my commands, even for 1,000 generations. Do not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. Observe the Sabbath day and keep it holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. 6 days a week are set apart for your daily duties and regular work, but the seventh day is a day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any kind of work. This includes you, your sons, your daughters, your male and female servants, your oxen and donkeys, and other livestock, and any foreigners living among you. All your male and female servants must rest as you do. Remember that you were once slaves in Egypt, and that the Lord your God brought you out with amazing power and mighty deeds. That is why the Lord your God has commanded you to obey the Sabbath day. Honor your mother and father as the Lord your God commanded you. Then you will live a long, full life in the land the Lord your God will give you. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not testify falsely against your neighbor. Do not covet your neighbor's wife. Do not covet your neighbor's house or land, male or female servant, ox or donkey, or anything else your neighbor owns. The Lord spoke these words with a loud voice to all of you from the heart of fire, surrounded by clouds and deep darkness. This was all he said at that time, and he wrote his words on 2 stone tablets and gave them to me. But when you heard the voice from the darkness while the mountain was blazing with fire, all your tribal leaders came to me. They said, "The Lord our God has shown us his glory and greatness, and we have heard his voice from the heart of the fire. Today we have seen God speaking to humans, and yet we live. But now why should we die? If the Lord our God speaks to us again, we will certainly die and be consumed by this awesome fire. Can any living thing hear the voice of the living God from the heart of the fire and yet survive? You go and listen to what the Lord our God says. Then come and tell us everything he tells you, and we will listen and obey." The Lord heard your request and said to me, "I have heard what the people have said to you, and they are right. Or they will always have hearts like this, that they might fear me and obey all my commands. If they did, they and their descendants would prosper forever. Go and tell them to return to their tents. But you stay here with me so I can give you all my commands, laws, and regulations. You will teach them to the people so they can obey them in the land I am giving them as their inheritance. So Moses told the people, you must obey all the commands of the Lord your God, following his instructions in every detail. Stay on the path that the Lord your God has commanded you to follow. Then you will live a long and prosperous lives in the land you are about to enter and occupy. Deuteronomy 6. A call for wholehearted commitment. These are all the commands, laws, and regulations that the Lord your God told me to teach you so you may obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and so that you and your children and grandchildren might fear the Lord your God as long as you live. If you obey all of his laws and commands, you will live a long life. Listen closely, Israel, to everything I say. Be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey. This is the Lord, the God of our ancestors, promised you.
There you go, little man.
All right, bro, you be safe.
He did his thing, man. He had like 3 or 4 of them come out.
Good job, Max.
And it was all solid.
All right, bro.
You have a good day.
You too, man.
I'm trying to sit up here and do a few more. I'm going to plant some grass.
Go put some...
What you do to my grass?
Go put some seed down.
Thank you, dude. I told you that's what you got to do. Before you start getting it fertilized, you got to get that dead grass up.
I know that's right.
I got to do the rest of it later, man. Hey, I still wore my ass out. Hey, it got more on the ground than I got in that bag.
All right, bro. Be safe. Thank you. Sorry. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone, and you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. And you must commit yourself wholeheartedly to these commands I'm giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you are home and when you are away on a journey, when you are lying down and when you are getting up again. Tie them to your hands as a reminder and wear them on your forehead. Write them on your doorposts of the house and on your gates. The Lord your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land filled with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns that you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget the Lord who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear the Lord your God and serve him. When you take an oath, you must use only his name. You must not worship any gods of the neighboring nations, for the Lord of your God who lives among you is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you and wipe you from the face of the earth. Do not test the Lord your God as you did when you were complained at Manasseh. You must diligently obey the commands of the Lord your God, all the stipulations and laws he has given you. Do what is right and is good in the Lord's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter the land, occupy the good land that the Lord solemnly promised to give your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in your land, just as the Lord said you would. In the future, your children will ask you, what is the meaning of these stipulations, laws, and regulations that the Lord our God has given us? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with amazing power. Before our eyes, the Lord did miraculous signs and wonders, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all his people. He brought us out of Egypt so we could use this land he had solemnly promised to give our ancestors, and the Lord our God commanded us to obey all these laws and to fear him for our own prosperity and well-being. And now, as is now the case, for we are righteous when we obey all the commands the Lord our God has given us. Now, Deuteronomy 5 and 6. Good morning. Now we're going to finish all today's daily reading with Job. Job 6. Job chapter 6. Job's second speech. A response to Eliphaz. Then Job spoke again. If my sadness could be weighed and my troubles be put in scales, they would be heavier than all the sands of the sea. That is why I spoke so rashly, for the Almighty has struck me down with his arrows. He has sent his poison arrows deep within my spirit. All God's terrors are array against me. Don't I have the right to complain? Wild donkeys bray when they find no green grass. Oxen low when they have no food. People complain when there is no salt in their food. And how tasteless is the uncooked white of an egg. My appetite disappears when I look at it. I gag at the thought of eating it. Oh, that I might have my request, that God would grant my hope. I wish he would crush me. I wish he would reach out his hand and kill me. At least I can comfort in this. Despite the pain, I have not denied the words of the Holy One, but I do not have the strength to endure. I do not have a goal that encourages me to carry on. Do I have strength as hard as a stone? Is my body made of bronze? No, I am utterly helpless, without any chance of success. One should be kind to a fainting friend, but you have accused me without the slightest fear of the Almighty. My brethren, you have proved as unreliable as an unseasoned brook, as a seasonal brook that overflows its banks in the spring, when it is swollen with ice and is melting snow. But when the hot weather arrives, the water disappears, the brook vanishes in the heat. The caravans turn aside to their refresh, but there is nothing there to drink, so they perish in the desert. With high hopes, the caravans from Timnah and from Sheba stop for water, but finding none, their hopes are dashed. You too have proved to be of no help. You have seen my calamity, and you are afraid. But why? Have I ever asked you for a gift? Have I begged you to use any of your wealth on my behalf? Have I ever asked you to rescue me from my enemies? Have I asked you to save me from ruthless people? All I want is a reasonable answer. Then I will keep quiet. Tell me what I have done wrong. Honest words are painful. But what do you think your criticism amounts to? Do you think your words are convincing when you discard my cry of desperation? You would even send an orphan into slavery or sell a friend. Look at me. Would I lie to your face? Stop assuming my guilt, for I am righteous. Don't be so unjust. Do you think I am lying? Don't I know the difference between right and wrong? Job chapter 6. All right, have a great day. Let's catch back up tomorrow.